Today at the National Press Club, a panel from the Senate crossbenchers, Glenn Lazarus, David Leyonhjelm and Nick Xenophon, on the fate of the 44th Parliament. It follows the federal government's threat to call a double dissolution election if the Senate blocks a second bid to reintroduce the Australian Building and Construction Commission.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the National Press Club and today's Westpac address. I'm Chris Uhlmann, and if you are following us online, our Twitter hashtag is NPC and our Twitter handle is @PressClubAUST. And our guests today are three senators at the eye of an Australian political storm. That is David Leyonhjelm, Glenn Lazarus and Nick Xenophon. Well, the Prime Minister has laid down a challenge to the Senate: pass two bills designed to tame the union movement or face the dissolving both houses of Parliament and going to an election in July. The threat for the senators, or at least some of them, is clear: pass the bills or lose your job. They say the hangman's noose is a great way of concentrating someone's mind. So to find out what's on the mind of at least three of the senators today, we've invited them here, and we'll get David Leyonhjelm from the Liberal Democrats to kick off. Thanks.
Well, thank you, President Chris. Important people, any small number of people here who aren't important. Nice to see you again. Now, the stated title for today is "The Fate of the 43rd Parliament is in Their Hands." Just want to mention that because the 43rd Parliament actually ended on the 7th of September 2013. I was elected to the 44th Parliament. Now, I only mention that because what it provides is evidence that journos can't count. Now, I will come back to this theme in a moment or two. Now, as most of you know, the crossbench is only relevant because Labor and the Greens tend to vote against the government. Labor because they're the opposition and it's their job to oppose. The Greens because they're a party of protests and that's all they know. Now, the crossbench represents a diverse spectrum of views. At one end is my colleague and friend, Bob Day, who votes with the government most of the time. At the other end are my two colleagues here today, Glenn and Nick. Nick votes with the Greens 2/3 of the time, which is a little more than Labor does, while Glenn votes with Labor 3/4 of the time. That's not intended to be a criticism, that's just their voting record. If you need to confirm it for yourself, theyvoteforyou.org.au has the record. Now, the Liberal Democrats are all about small government, low taxes and personal freedom. We don't care what's popular, only what's right. I vote more with the government than Labor, at roughly 2/3 for and 1/3 against. That's partly because the government sought at times to reduce government spending, and this aligns with the Liberal Democrats' policies. But it's also because the government is the government, and I have tended to give it the benefit of the doubt. Well, I used to. But the idea that Bob, Nick, Glenn or I should work as a group, like a party with an agreed platform, is just too silly for words. Now, when it comes to the ABCC, I expect you've heard quite enough about it already. My position is this: I will vote for the second reading. I will vote for the second reading. I did last time. And I have an amendment which would be introduced after the second reading for a sunset clause. The government agreed to that sunset clause more than 6 months ago. But apparently now I'm expected to shop it around my crossbench colleagues and get 6 votes for it. As if. If it gets to a third reading, my vote will depend on how it is amended, plus a few other unrelated factors. Frankly, I doubt it will get that far. It may not even get to the second reading. Now, don't go reporting this as fact, but if Labor moved a motion on the 18th or 19th of April to adjourn the Senate until the 3rd or the 10th of May, I reckon most of my crossbench colleagues would support it. There's no point hanging around if the end result is obvious. So, minimal debate, failure to pass, bring on the double dissolution. And frankly, I don't believe the Prime Minister will care. Malcolm Turnbull has shown little interest in the ABCC bill, beyond using it as a stick to beat Labor and the crossbench. I have never spoken a word to him about it. In my view, he has been looking forward to a double dissolution with IR front and centre for at least the last 3 weeks and probably longer. Only the news poll numbers, which suggest he might actually lose the election, would have given him any reason recently to reconsider that position. Now, why will the crossbench support a motion to adjourn the Senate reasonably early? First, there are 3 reasons. First, because nobody likes being threatened, and that's what the PM is doing to the crossbench. Second, because changing the Senate voting system with the declared intention of clearing out the crossbench has done nothing for goodwill. And finally, because a double dissolution is not a particularly unattractive option for a number of crossbench senators, and possibly for most of us. In a normal half-Senate election, the quota is 14.3%. In a double dissolution, it is 7.7%. Getting elected to the last position on what's called the highest remainder will take 4 to 5%, possibly less. Anthony Green says 3 point something. If the 2013 vote had been a double dissolution under the new system and preferences were immaterial, the Katter Australia Party would have won a Senate seat in Queensland with less than 3% of the vote. I know some of you have jumped to the conclusion that because the government introduced the new voting system to get rid of the crossbench, that's what will happen. Can I caution you against that? There's 0 data on it, and journalists do not have a good track record electoral prediction. They don't even know which parliament we're in. Indeed, neither does Anthony Green. He predicted One Nation would win a Senate seat in New South Wales in 2013. I'm sure some of you remember that. If you want to avoid making predictions that you'll regret, get your pollsters to include minor parties in their questions. As I see it, and I actually did predict my election 3 weeks before it occurred, as well as minor parties winning in every state, although I didn't know which minor parties would win, the crossbench might be reduced after a double dissolution election, but it will still hold the balance of power. Given the quota, crossbench parties could win representation in every state, and the Liberal Democrats are a great chance of winning one or more of those seats. We have more than 5,000 committed members, many more supporters, and the healthiest finances of any small party. We are also the only hope for voters who are tired of being overtaxed, who want the budget fixed, who don't want to pay $40 for a packet of smokes, who don't trust the government to store their metadata, who believe in free speech, and who want an end to the nanny state. I know journalists like to focus on political stunts and big personalities, but those concerned about their post-election credibility should bear in mind the sheer number of voters concerned about these things. Our membership is growing rapidly, and we now have the makings of an enduring political movement. And yet, we may well look back later this year and remark at how little has changed. A double dissolution will not clear out the crossbench. Neither will it transform the Turnbull government, assuming there still is one, into competent negotiators with the crossbench. And as has been said many times in the past, this election will be about trust. Who do you trust to balance the budget, lower taxes and end the nanny state? If these matter to you, there is only one party that you can trust, the Liberal Democrats. And can I announce that after this lunch, I will be driving straight down to Government House and advising the Governor-General to call an election for a double dissolution. And I'm sure he'll take a lot of notice of me. Thank you very much.
All right, well, our next speaker came into